Look, making sourdough bread isn't that hard. Let me show you how I do it. Grab yourself a large bowl. I like to use my KitchenAid mixing bowl because it has a handle and it makes it easy to mix the dough. Already coming in hot with the tips. 700 grams of warm water to your bowl. It goes 1,000 grams of white bread flour. You can get creative with the different kinds of flours you use. Whole wheat, semolina, dark rye. Just know that they do absorb differently, so you might need to adjust the water a little bit. The bench scraper is your best friend for something like this. Just work that flour into the water. This method might already be a little bit different from what you're used to. Mixing the flour and the water together before you add the starter is what's known as the autolyse method. Just allows the flour to absorb the water, start to hydrate, and form gluten a little bit ahead of time before you add your starter. I've just had really good results with this method, but why would you trust me? It's not like I'm a chef or anything. Mix this together with like a chopping, scraping motion until there are no more dry bits. Don't want a crusty, dusty sourdough now, do you? Once it looks something like this, go ahead and cover it with plastic wrap and a kitchen towel and let it sit for about 30 minutes. It's been about a half hour. The dough has had time to relax a bit. We're gonna add 220 grams of the fed sourdough starter. I fed this last night, so it was ready for me this morning. Look how beautiful and bubbly she is. I'm gonna save this and make sourdough pancakes with it. To get my hand a little damp and just work that starter into your dough. You don't need to be gentle, you're not gonna hurt it. Fold it back in on itself. Get all that starter worked into the dough. Use your handy bench scraper. Might look a little funky, but I promise it'll come together. Sourdough isn't that hard to make, it's just a little time consuming. Once you know all the signs and the cues and what you're looking for, smooth sailing, baby. And if the dough is super sticky, you can always just get your hands a little bit wet. Once it looks like this, we're gonna cover it up and let it sit for another 30 minutes. It's been 30 minutes. Looks pretty funky. I'm gonna make a sesame nori sourdough. We're gonna go with 4. Give them a quick toast over the stove. We're going to add in our toasted nori. Just crumble that right in. 20 grams of kosher salt. It's about 2 tablespoons. That's not a lot. I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of sesame oil. And I'm gonna get my hands damp and just fold the dough in on itself until it starts to come together again. Salt and yeast do not get along. That's why we hold off to add the salt till now. We have a nice little dough ball. Cover it up 30 minutes. Just gonna perform those same coil folds for about 2 hours, every 30 minutes or so. It's gonna depend on the temperature of your kitchen. 30 minutes later, she's starting to look real nice. Just tuck it in on itself a couple times, stretch and fold. See that gluten starting to form. The nori is starting to distribute itself throughout the dough. Let it go another 30 minutes. Look at that. Sometimes I'll even get it out onto the counter, kind of start folding it in on itself. Back into the bowl, and more waiting. You guessed it. Ooh, her. Maybe 1 more hour. I'm loving how she's looking. I dump her out onto the counter. Split her into 2 roughly equal balls. That is gonna be so yummy. And just give them a rough shape. Kind of use the bottoms of my hands to pull it towards myself and then turn it around, pull it back towards myself to just kind of tighten it all together. These are very uneven. That's okay. Also use one hand and kind of cup it towards yourself like that. Smooth surface. Then we're gonna let these rest on the counter for another half hour, hour or so. Again, it all depends kind of how warm or cool your kitchen is. We'll do our final shaping and let them proof overnight. We're ready to rock. If you don't have any of those proofing baskets, you can just get either a strainer or a bowl, line it with some linen, liberal dusting of flour. Voila. Is one last little shape into those nice, tight little buns. I like to just gather everything at the bottom, smooth side down, a little bit more flour. Just wrap it up and repeat with the other one. A little flour. Now you could rest these on the counter for another couple hours before you bake them, but I like to go overnight in the fridge. I think the flavor develops so much better. So we'll see you tomorrow. Good morning. It's time to bake our sourdough. You're gonna wanna grab a large Dutch oven. All of you who came for me about the way my Dutch oven looks, you clearly don't bake sourdough bread. This is gonna go right into your oven and then you're gonna turn it on at 500 degrees and let that preheat. Once your oven has reached 500 degrees, yourself a piece of parchment. Look at this beautiful baby. It's gonna invert your sourdough right onto the parchment. Big reveal. You use a blade like this. You can use a really sharp knife. You can do a design on top. I usually just do one nice quick slit down the middle. Maybe a couple on the side. Very carefully. This pot is ripping hot. Your sourdough right into the pot. Some people add ice cubes at this point. I don't find it necessary. The steam it traps is enough. Lid on, into your oven, drop it down to 450 degrees for 24 minutes. Check back in then. 24 minutes and we get another big reveal. Ah, it is stunning. We're just gonna whack this back in the oven for another 18 minutes. No lid. 18 minutes later and you have a very hot, beautiful loaf of sesame nori sourdough that we're going to let cool fully before we slice it too. Look at that. Okay, she's fully cooled. Let's cut into her. Now that is one beautiful loaf of sourdough bread. It smells so good. Nori in there is so good. Yum.